Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Things STEM with Ashley. We are super excited to have Dakeesha Wright with us today. Dakeesha Wright is a transformational leader in aerospace and defense with nearly 30 years of experience in the industry. She is the founder and CEO of Melanin Minds in STEM, an organization dedicated to developing minority STEM professionals into executive-ready leaders. An Amazon #1 best-selling author, Keisha is known for translating real-world leadership experience into actionable strategies. Her work bridges industry excellence with legacy building, ensuring the next generation of STEM leaders is prepared, confident, and positioned to lead. So Keisha, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ashley.
Yes, can you open up today and tell us what first sparked your journey in mechanical engineering?
So, hello, everyone. As Ashley said, I am Dakeesha Wright. Everyone calls me Keisha. I am a mechanical engineer. And so what really honestly sparked that interest is I was always good in math and science growing up. And so that journey through school has put me in advanced classes and activities. And so I got a chance to experience a lot of fun and exciting, activities coming up to where we eventually created an academy at my high school. And so my AP teacher was the one who said, hey, I'm going to start up this. It was called SECME back then, but it was Southeastern Consortium of Minorities in Engineering. Now it stands for Science, Engineering, Mathematics, Communications, Enrichment. And it is an organization that does just that. It enriches the students, introduces you to STEM activities, and then you compete. And so that really set it off for me in terms of in high school, I was like, I kind of know where I need to be. And I ended up choosing engineering and broad-based engineering, but mechanical engineering to me gave me the most flexibility to do different things. So it was much more than just a specialized field. I felt like I could really go just about anywhere.
I love it. Thank you. Did you always know you wanted to be an engineer? Or like you said, when you got introduced in high school, that was your first thing? Was there anything in elementary or middle before that high school organization? Or you were tinkering, putting something together?
My dad was the one who really was, he shaped that. You really should think about engineering because I love the way things, like to take things apart and put them back together. It was the putting back together part that was fun. It was like, I remember how to take it apart now, and you had to kind of reverse engineer back into putting it together. Or if something came in, I would, like if we ordered something online and it came in, I would always be the one to try to put it together. Like, let me do that. Let me, find out things, figure out how it works. So that's been in my blood probably since I could talk and walk.
Awesome. So I want to ask, what was your experience like earning your bachelor's in mechanical engineering?
So I earned my bachelor's from the University of Texas at Arlington. And funny to think, because it wasn't that long ago, but I was the second African-American female to graduate with that degree from that university. And I was thinking, what? How come? But it was different. And this is something that, definitely for your audience out there it was not a lot of females in the program, and definitely not a lot of obviously Black females, African-American females. So it puts a bit of a challenge to not have a community around you, and to really try to seek, others kind of to study with and, have activities that kind of promote you staying in it, because mechanical engineering is not easy. I'm not going to, put the sugar coat on it. It's challenging and you got to work, and, but it's nice if you do have a community. So I did find there were a couple other females in our program and that graduated with me, and we kind of band together and we did our projects together, with obviously I had a bigger group, but it was nice to the three women that were taking this program together, we kind of stayed close.
I love it. So we jumped right into your STEM background. I want you to give us a full overview of you and who you are today through the whole thing. So let's go back a little bit.
All right. So let's study. Right. Who am I? So I work for an aerospace and defense company. I have my entire career. I've worked actually with the same company my entire career. I started right after high school, so 2 weeks after high school, I got a scholarship with that same program, SECME, that I was in high school. The organization that I worked for offered scholarship for one student in each one of the counties that was local to our Florida facility. And I managed to receive that scholarship, and it came with a full ride to school, and it also afforded me internships. So I interned every year, and then I was hired on once I finished my degree. And luckily, I finished it. Did not have to pay for school. Then I went on to get my master's. So that was kind of my early days into my job. And then I went on. I was actually, since being a mechanical engineer, I went into as an intern, I did a lot of different things, because as an intern, you don't really know what you want yet. So I was in materials sciences. I used to polish materials that they were, reviewing. I was also in supply chain and, in program engineers. I kind of went everywhere because it was an opportunity. As a student, you don't know what you want. And then I went into repair and development. So I did repair and development for engines, and I did a lot of activities around post engines that would come back in. So after they had their service life, we'd come back in and refurbish them. Then I went back and started testing rocket engines, and that was probably one of my most exhilarating opportunities. So I did that for a few years. I tested rocket engines that are on the second stage up in space now that they're on the second stage. So you see the main space shuttle main engines when the space shuttle was flying. They were, their engines that are kind of on the second stage after everything kind of falls off. So more satellite, not the space shuttle carries people, but the engines that we worked on were more to put payload out in space. So after I did that for a while, I really liked the full engine. So I did systems engineering for a while and started working proposals. So I did a lot of follow-on proposals for the engine products. And these are huge engines, like they're the size of us, right? And then we went into more of the proposal development. So I really wanted I liked that industry. So I liked, really working with the customer, really understanding their needs and what their desires were. So I wanted to, help bring them our technology. So I started as a proposal manager, and I sold the spacesuits. So the white spacesuits that you see the astronauts do the spacewalk. I sold those as a proposal manager to NASA. So we were field office for NASA. So I worked that project for a while. And then I realized that, my organization realized that I have a degree in quality. And so they asked if I would lead our quality organization. Then I went around in quality for a very long time. I moved up in the organization and led multi-sites and led multi-portfolios. And then I was asked to go over to operations. And so I'm in operations now. I was site leader for a while. And I led the site and I led the operations organization. And now I'm leading a portfolio operation. So I do manufacturing across a portfolio.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. Such a great journey. So I heard you say you started with like an opportunity right after high school at your organization. Were there any mentors or pivotal moments that shaped your direction?
Yes, I had several mentors. Actually, I've been afforded a lot of opportunity to connect with some just really great people, especially being young and starting out my career. It was always nice to connect with those associates that were like fresh out of college or like just shy of their mid-career, because they were still like relatable, right? And they were still connected. So a lot of us would still work and give back to like the organization segment. When I talked about the students that were coming up and doing these activities, we would also be out there doing activities with them. And so I made a lot of had a lot of mentors, a lot of friends in that environment. And that was, to me, was just one of the ways, early in my career that I really connected was through people that were kind of just older than me, but still, young enough to connect. And they really did shape a lot of what I was doing. And that's one of the reasons that I still love to give back. And, the pipeline growth, the development, and STEM organizations.
Awesome. So, for my next question, I want to ask you, what advice would you give young women considering engineering?
I think I said a little bit of it earlier. It's not easy. But we're made for it. I think that as women, I think our brains are wired to think differently. I think we're wired to, I don't say nitpick, but we're wired to dig into something and really problem solve. And I think that's been one of my strong suits from a kid, right? Problem solving. And that's what's actually afforded me where I am now, is being able to solve problems and relate to people and then be able to convey them. I think that as women, we kind of have that natural ability in our homes generally, even when we're, moving around in our daily lives. I feel like every day is just a big problem that you're solving. So I think we've gotten really good at it. So I just encourage young ladies to stick at it. Like, if you go into it knowing that it's probably not going to be the easiest thing you've done before, but that you can do it, I think you go into it with a positive attitude and open-minded, and you'll just excel.
Absolutely. Thank you. Keisha, my next question for you is, what challenges have you faced as a woman in STEM, and how did you navigate them?
So being a female in STEM, often there are not necessarily as many of you. I think we talked about that coming up in school, but it's up a lot more now, which is good. It's awesome to see that. I think we still face challenges, especially when it comes to your voice and being able to feel comfortable speaking up. Especially in rooms that you may be the only female, and you may be the only African American female, or the only African American, and so being able to feel confident in what you know and to be able to project that in a way that'll be heard. I think that are still challenges with others hearing us, and sometimes often people face where their idea has been said by someone else, and now it's just a brilliant idea when you just said it probably 2 minutes ago, the same idea. So I think we're still working through some of that. I know when I'm in a room with other females or other especially African American females that may not want to have that voice, as a leader, I usually try to make sure that I'm incorporating that or pulling that voice in to really help to say, oh, I think that was, just stated by, such and such, just so that we can, make sure that we're heard and make sure that, we are because most of the time when we're speaking, we know what we're talking about, right? And in a lot of cases, we won't speak until we do know what we're talking about, right? We're comfortable in that space, and so you want to make sure that you are heard.
Yeah. Awesome. So you kind of spoke about it a little bit, but how have you learned to advocate for yourself professionally? I know you said, speak your voice, speak your point, stand up for yourself. How have you learned to advocate for yourself?
So it's just that you follow that mantra that, nobody's going to talk about you better than you can. You hope to have a few people in the room that will talk about you when you're not in the room. But the only way that they know about doing that is by you expressing that to them. You being comfortable in, getting the work done and, excelling in that regard, which I think is usually never a problem. It's just we don't always go as comfortable speaking about ourselves or really sharing all the wonderful things that we've done or are doing. And I think it just comes with a place of time, right? The longer that you're in the profession, the longer you have had these experiences where you're able to really talk about all the goodness you're doing, I think it becomes a little bit more comfortable. But I think you have to seek opportunities really to, make sure you're connecting with people and they understand all that you're doing, because sometimes it will get lost, right? In other projects or things like that. Now, in terms of like advocating that standing up, for yourself in those environments, I think just generally and I know for me, it's not a hard thing to stand up for myself. I do it outside of work, right? So that's not the part. It's trying to do it professionally, right? And doing it without breaking a sweat, like where without, coming out of character and without, showing that, you never want them to feel like you don't belong.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's super important. And especially for early career women and employees to learn, because it's easy to just step back and keep peace or just let everything flow, but you have to advocate for
You
yourself.
do. You have to step forward when the time is right. But it's the way you do it, right? It's the you have to come at it with tact. You have to come at it with fact, right? And you have to come at it with with tact. So you do have to have yourself together, have your details together, and then appropriately address the situation, because you shouldn't let things linger, and you should advocate for yourself and whatever the situation may be.
Thank you, Keisha. So I know you mentioned that you've been with your company since you got out of high school. So what motivated you to pursue your master's in quality systems management when you were already so developed? You have mechanical engineering. What made you decide, hey, I want to go back for my master's?
So when I, as a young engineer, the big thing, and it's still to this day, continuous improvement, right, was huge. And at the time, Six Sigma was really like, that was the wave of the future. Everybody go get, So I did. I wanted to create a space for myself that included a master's and a profession around being a better engineer. So I thought, if I can get a degree that really supports the Six Sigma continuous improvement activities, then I could go further as an engineer. I actually, at the time, didn't think about it from a standpoint of quality and going into the quality organization. I really thought about it as being a better engineer.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Now, can you give us an overview of what quality systems management is and what it entails? I know you spoke on Six Sigma. Can you give just an overview for people that may be interested?
So quality systems management is really, how you run your business from a perspective of the entire organization. We call it a QMS, which is a quality management system, and that is your procedures, your documentation. If you're in aerospace, you have AS9100, which is a certification, or you have ISO 9001. But those are all the industry standard certifications that really shape you as your organization, as a certified organization that can go from proposing work or bidding for work all the way to delivery and the customer follow up. And those are all the things that you should do to effectively run a quality business. And so that's in the industry. That's really what that degree just says, that you have mastered, the ins and outs to running a business at that level that can deliver quality product. So if people are familiar with, procedures and documentation and things like that within their organization, the QMS really, culminates all of that and says, based on this criteria, all of these things need to be in place for your organization to be effective and to be able to meet the customer's needs, their expectations, and to deliver a quality product at the end of the day. And so a lot of organizations will get certified in that. It entails not just documentation, but it talks about like risk and opportunities. You deal with the fact that, you need to review metrics and continuously improve your product. You need to understand when you're delivering, something to the customer, are you following up to make sure that the product is sufficient, right? And meets their needs, and how are you communicating with them? So it's a lot of steps that are along that journey to make sure to wrap it all into a organization that really is structured for quality.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So while you were working and earning your master's, how did you manage it? Can you give the audience some tips for managing everything?
Yes. And I did it. So I know I talked about working my internships, but I actually hired on full time just before I was done with my undergrad, and so I'm gonna explain how I balanced that a little bit too. So I was working, and I wasn't quite working full time. I guess it was part time, but I had a significant amount of work hours. But I would go to work for maybe half a day, and then I would go to school for half a day. So school was a break from work, and work was a break from school. So the other day, semesters would flip flop. Potentially, I would go to school first, and then I'd come to work. And so that was a good balance when I was getting my undergrad. As I was getting my master's, and a lot of organizations have this, but you have an opportunity to, for them to pay for school and sponsor your education and potentially your books. So at that time, that was what was afforded to me. So they actually got people together who were interested in taking courses around the same degree, and we created a cohort. And so we were able to do it on campus. And so we would go to school, and then, we would go to work, and then we would find a conference room or an area to meet, and then we would bring our trainers on, and we would have class there. So we did our senior project. Also was one of the projects that within the organization that we needed to solve. So it worked out. It was a win-win for everybody. But that was basically how you manage it. So you end up with maybe a little less home time because you're doing it, but it was convenient at that time. And then our organization offered, some time for you to personal time that you could use to actually study or take a test or things like that you could shut down from work and be able to focus on doing, excellent job that at the end of the day benefited the organization.
Yeah. So did you have a planner or something to help you? Did you have a planner? Did you have like dividing days for this is the days I'm going to focus on this? Or and how did you how'd you prevent burnout? How did you have self-care strategies to help you along the way? Like, what are some actionable tips that people can take and do?
So yes, planners are great. If you use them wisely, I took the class, the Stephen Covey and seven habits of highly effective people. And he talks, there's a planner part of that. And there's teaches you kind of how to use your planner, both personal and professionally, so that you can manage your life. I did a lot better when I was younger than I do probably now. I might need to revisit that because at times it does get a little crazy in your mind. But I think especially now that we use our phones a lot, just putting in kind of almost everything in your schedule helps for you to stay focused, whether it's something for work or something for home. It helps to use your calendar in that way. OneNote has been an exciting tool that has come about lately too, that helps keep with organization, at least your thoughts and your notes and things like that. So there's good tools out there, and I think everybody. Some people like to talk and keep notes that way.
Yeah.
But you have to figure out whatever works for you, because it's hard to say, oh, just use this to use that, because you may start something. And like I said, I was great at using a planner before, and now I don't, because of, technology, so I use other things, and it evolves, at some point in your life, you may use a certain tool and then you realize, oh, this works better now.
Oh, absolutely. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So now I want to ask, how did your master's degree impact your career opportunities or leadership growth?
So I think I talked about it a little bit before, but that was when I got my master's thinking that for sure I was just going to be a better engineer, right? And I ended up becoming a leader based on the fact that I was probably one of the only people they saw that had a master's degree in quality. And so I led quality for a lot based on that. So it really did help from a leadership growth standpoint. I think masters in general, no matter what they are, just gives you an advanced level of understanding when it comes to an organization. And so no matter what field it's in or what the master's degree is in, you just kind of take those extra steps to really have a better foundation if you really want to become a leader. And so, and not to say that there are people that become leaders that don't have their master's. So I'm not, just saying that, but I know that there's a lot that you learn in those classes from a master's level that really are eye-opening in your industry.
Well, thank you, Keisha. So now I'm going to ask, What advice would you give someone debating whether to pursue graduate school or not? I know you just said you don't always have to have it as a leader. It was good for you. You got to be in leadership right immediately after. What are some things people should consider when debating whether to go to grad school or not?
I think really ultimately they need to understand what they want to do with their career, and that'll help which graduate school programs they want to go into. Because if you really think that you like the technical path, and if I'm more of a leader, I'm a people person, I connect with people. So to me, it was going to be something that was really leading organizations, as opposed to some people would like the technical path, and so they like to just get degrees, advanced degrees in engineering, and they want to be a fellow, or they want to be kind of a master in their craft. And that's okay too, but you need to understand like which level you're really trying to pursue, to make sure that you're taking the right classes. If you like business development, or if you like program management, maybe an MBA, right, would be better. You get a master's in business. And so it just depends. Like for me, like I said, I got my master's in quality, which probably isn't all that common, but I really was looking at it from a Six Sigma standpoint. I ended up getting my black belt from ASQ, but then I also got my, I just got certified as a Six Sigma black belt. And so that was important to me at the time, as opposed to like pursuing a business degree. So just, you got to first reflect on what you think your life looks like in 5 to 10 years.
Know your end goal. Well, thank you. We're going to pivot now from your career to your business. So can you please tell us about your business?
Yes, so I'm the proud owner and founder and CEO of Melanin Minds in STEM, and it is a leadership development organization. We really looking to see more minority professionals in higher level leadership positions. So we have crafted activities, brunches, and cohorts designed to really advance minority opportunities in the STEM industry. I stick with STEM because I am from STEM and I'm very comfortable. And I think it's a space that more and more of us are starting to branch into. And I just think that the support and development is definitely needed for us to continue to grow and advance.
I love it. Thank you. So can you tell us, you kind of spoke on it, what inspired you to start your business?
So I think myself, my own career journeys, and just realizing that I honestly I have wonderful people in my life. I've been afforded to have some great mentors, some really positive role models, and I want to be able to bring that to everybody.
Right.
And so it's an opportunity to say I've done a lot of leadership programs, leadership development, and really it's taken my career in just so many great ways that I want to see if I can spread that to everyone. I know with the change last year in DE&I, that's really kind of pivoted the way that organizations really look at that space. And so our organization is developed to really enhance that and create that environment, and afford people the opportunity to see how growth looks, with them in a leadership position. So.
Awesome. So, Keisha, how can people learn about and support your business?
So my website is the name. So it's melaninmindsandstem.com. So when you go to the website, you have an opportunity to learn more about the business and what we do, or what we're here to do. And then we also you can join the community. You have an opportunity to sign up to receive a newsletter, and that will be sharing information. We also have an Instagram. We have a Facebook. We're on TikTok as well. So we do share things that we're doing, things that are coming up, us out in the community. So if you're out in the community and we're at an event, please stop by. But those are the ways you can connect.
Awesome. Do you have any events coming up?
So we do. We have an event coming up on March 21st, and it is called Sisters in STEM's Foray. and it's a leadership brunch, and it really entails. It's not like your average brunch where you come and and you listen to a few people speak, but this is interactive. This is an opportunity for people to really dig deep and learn and grow within themselves. So it's an opportunity to connect with like-minded people. You're able to listen to some phenomenal women executives. There'll be some entrepreneurs there. So just a great time to be had, like with each other, growing, developing. And then the brunch is going to be great too. So who doesn't love to eat and break bread? So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'll be here. I can't wait to support. So now we're going to get back to balanced growth and success. How do you balance your STEM career, business, and personal life now in this phase? I know we talked about managing when you were in school, but now you have your career, your business, and your personal life. So
yes,
how do you manage it all?
I'm still trying to figure that out. And it's funny. And this is, and just like we spoke about, like your life changes and pivots at any given moment. So you early on, it was, when I first got out of school, it's just me. Then it was me and my husband. And then it was me, my husband, and we have a set of boy-girl twins who are 7 now. And so their lives are changing. And so every you have a milestone in your life, you pivot to do different things. And that's really, you just have to find a balance. Sometimes when my kids were young, there was a lot more emphasis put towards, what they were doing and how they were helping them walk and things like that. But now they're older, they're walking, talking in school. So it changes too, but then they become busy because they have, their own personal lives that we're managing too. And then we have a business now that we run, and getting them involved in the business has been just a blessing, a joy, teaching them, having them learn what it means to work hard to do something. Is great, and they see, oh, you're doing this for the business again. I try to be really open with them. My husband is super supportive, so they realize there's some nights that I may be working late. There's some nights that I travel, and so having supportive family and the flexibility is really what keeps me going now. And then I realize too, I know I work and I give my all to my organization, but when it's my time, I gotta let go because I have to focus on my kids and I have to focus on my business. So it's not easy. I laughed as I said I'm still trying to figure it out because sometimes are more rough than others. But I think you do it because you realize where your passions lie. You realize what motivates you, and that's what keeps you going.
Awesome. So my next question kind of piggybacks on that and asks, what systems or habits help you avoid burnout? I know you're burned out, but
I do. Self-care is huge. I book a massage appointment once a month. I make sure that I, in that time, dedicated time doing that. I usually do it actually with my husband, so it ends up being something that is a treat for both of us. And then the normal hair, nails, things like that, because I feel like that's a time to decompress. We love to travel. Travel is huge for me. If I'm not planning the next trip, I think, something is wrong with the day. So I always have the next trip in mind because to me, that is like my time to decompress. I love cruises. It may be because I can disconnect. I don't know, but I am a cruise fanatic. So I'm always, what's the next trip or travel or.
thank you for sharing how to reduce burnout and tips that you use. So we're going to go back into the workplace a little bit, and I want to ask you, how do you handle imposter syndrome or moments of self-doubt?
So I think it's something that everybody faces. I don't think it's anything that we should shy away from. I think that you have to embrace and realize, okay, what am I doing in that space? And did I put myself into this imposter syndrome? And who you want to be should come out of that, who you are truly. I think that times have changed a lot. So I see it probably less and less more with people really feeling bad about, who they are at work. I always said that I am me, but I'm my professional me at work. I try not to be, which at times I guess that's when we go back to the conversation we had about, needing to like take a moment before you come out of character and things like that. But I think it's much easier and less stressful if you don't become something else and something that, you have to they keep up a facade. So if you see yourself slipping into trying to fit in or trying to become something else, then I think it's time to kind of step back and say, okay, what am I here to do? What am I here for? Or what are my values? Who am I as a person? Self-doubt, I don't really care who you are. You're always gonna have a time where you question, like, am I supposed to be here? Right? And even as you go up in leadership, I think that comes too, where you're like, wait, especially when you're in rooms that maybe you're the only one and you look around, you're like, okay, I am right. And that's where you take a deep breath and you get those thoughts out of your head. I think that sometimes our subconscious tries to talk us out or keep us in a comfort space.
Yeah.
I think that being outside your comfort zone is awesome. I think it could be used as a good thing, because for me, you take those butterflies, right? You project and you become, something amazing. Just being a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think sometimes if you stay in a space, then you get lax, and so that with the uncomfortableness comes the self-doubt. And I think if you recognize it and you realize that you are meant to be here, and that you will be put in the places that you're supposed to be, and you will meet the people that you're supposed to meet, and you just continue to believe that, you'll get yourself out of that self-doubt.
I love it. Thank you for sharing, Keisha. So now to some happy things. What accomplishment are you most proud of in your whole STEM career? It could be internship, college, career, master's. You pick.
What am I most proud of? Oh man, there's so many wonderful opportunities that I've had in my career. I think some of the things that give me the most joy are being in front of people who can see themselves in me.
Yeah.
I think that I've taken this journey not just for me, but for the people coming behind me, even for my own children, for people who I speak to on regular occasions when I'm in schools, or just people that I meet and I share with. I think that is probably an accomplishment, like being proud of myself for doing it, and then being proud to share that accomplishment with everybody. I did. So if I can think about a thing that happened, I did win a Woman of Color in STEM award for managerial leadership. And that to me was just an awesome accomplishment, because I felt like the industry saw that, you know, I'm a good leader, I'm a good person. So in general, it was one of those moments in saying my speech that I really reflected to say, okay, somebody saw you and realized that you were deserving of such a prestigious award. So I think that is definitely something that I am proud of.
Great. Thank you, Keisha, for sharing. And congrats.
Thank you.
Now I want to ask, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
To keep going. And I have, but the encouragement sometimes is needed. Be, who you are. I think sometimes I realized, and I still do to this day, I get caught up in the emotions at times of things, because that's who I am. And I gotta separate. So sometimes I just get too connected and I can't let go. And sometimes you really have to back up out of that and say, okay, this is work, and this situation happened. It's really okay. Let's, figure out how to pivot, as opposed to really holding on. And so I think I've grown to do better as I advance in my career. But I think younger, I think things really, really affected me quite a bit. And I couldn't get beyond them. I was, they would really take a toll on me. And so, and not in a bad, I mean, it didn't deter me, obviously, but, I felt it. And I want as I've grown, I've said, okay, I've got to realize what the situation is. I got to let that go, and I got to continue to move on, right?
Yeah.
Don't let it hold you back. And so that's some advice I'd share with some people too. Even when situations occur or things happen, you're going to try to get to the bottom of it, but you have to find a place to be able to let go and continue moving.
Awesome. Thank you. Keisha, last question of the day. What are 3 tips for success that you want to leave with the audience?
So I'd like to share 3 things I think have made me successful in business leadership, all of the above. But know what you want. Know where you want to go. There's been times that I didn't know where I want to go, and you won't go. So, so you really have to know where you want to go. What you want to do, but then also know what you don't want to do. So that's in the same, like, because there's times that if there's some things that would you take that job for this amount of money? Would you go here for? So you need to know that, there's some, whatever your limits are, make sure that they're understood and they're clear in your mind. The second thing I leave with the audience is be open to change. Change is everywhere in our organizations, everywhere in your life. And the more you can embrace it and adapt to change, the better you'll do just all around. Because if you become one of the first people really to get on board with a change or to adapt to something, then usually you can go the furthest. You can go, the quickest in the organization. And then it makes you happier all the way around when you're not trying to fight it and you're not being resisted. Um, and then the last thing I'd leave with everybody is you got to meet people. You got to get out. Like, life is about who you interact with, who remembers you, whether that's in your organization or, now in my business as well. It is really about connecting with people. And it goes back to the age old who you know. Yeah, you got to come with your skills and your challenges that you've done and things like that. But people are going to want to know who you are as a person. Will you fit with their organization? Will you fit with their department or function? And I think the more people you know and you put yourself out there, the networking that you do in and outside of your business is definitely a key to success.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your tips for success. Thank you for being a guest today, Keisha. Everyone, check out Melanin Minds in STEM. We're so excited that you watched today. Subscribe to All Things STEM with Ashley, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.